Welcome to Pasadena Monthly. I'm your host, Justin Chapman. After taking a look at what's been going on in Pasadena this past month, we'll speak with our guest, Pasadena City Manager Miguel Márquez, who has announced his retirement. But let's turn first to our lightning round of news updates. 1. In a complaint the city of Pasadena filed in its lawsuit against UCLA over its planned move from the Rose Bowl to SoFi Stadium, despite their lease agreement that runs through 2044 with no exit clause, the city warned that the separation could jeopardize its ability to repay hundreds of millions of dollars in stadium bond debt and force cuts to basic public services. The city and the Rose Bowl operating company structured nearly $200 million in stadium renovation bonds around the guaranteed revenue from UCLA home football games, with debt payments reimbursed through stadium income rather than taxpayer funds. Now the loss of UCLA games could push those bond payments back onto Pasadena's general fund. Kroenke Sports and Entertainment and SoFi Stadium have been added as defendants in the lawsuit. The UC Regents have asked the judge to stop deposition notices and halt all discovery until the court hears UCLA's motion to compel arbitration on January 22nd, and a hearing on that request is set for January 8th. Also, the Tournament of Roses is set to lose its largest source of revenue, totaling millions of dollars, after the upcoming Rose Bowl game because ESPN's direct broadcast agreement will end. 2. The city and Pasadena Partnership are calling for volunteers for the 2026 homeless count, a survey of unhoused residents, on Wednesday, January 21st from 8 to 10 p.m. and again on Thursday, January 22nd from 6 to 8 a.m. The count helps determine how many people are experiencing homelessness in Pasadena on a given night, thus influencing future funding and policy. Visit PasadenaPartnership.org to learn more and sign up. Also, City Council created a new standing council committee called the Planning, Housing, and Homelessness Committee. The committee, which will consist of up to 4 council members appointed by the mayor, will meet twice a month and will review land use and transportation planning issues, housing policy, and homelessness-related matters. 3. The one-year anniversary of the Eaton fire is quickly approaching. There are a number of vigils and memorial events planned for early January. A 10K, 5K, and family walk called Altadena Forever Run will take place on Sunday, January 4th, starting at 8 a.m. at Mariposa Junction. On January 7th itself, a candlelight vigil is being organized by the Altadena Chamber of Commerce and Civic Association in partnership with community groups and will take place at 6 p.m. across the entire community. A benefit concert will be held at the Pasadena Civic Auditorium featuring Dawes and Friends, Brad Paisley, Brandon Flowers, Mandy Moore, and others, which will support the Altadena Builds Back Foundation. A memorial event hosted by the Coalition for Altadena Recovery will take place at 5 p.m. at the grocery outlet parking lot on Lake Avenue. Tens of thousands of people recently gathered for the first Christmas Tree Lane lighting ceremony since the fire, which included a powerful moment of silence to remember the 19 who were killed. 4. The City Council voted to give Councilmember Jess Rivas another one-year term as Vice Mayor. Voters recently passed Measure PB, which guaranteed a one-year term for the Vice Mayor and an annual organizational meeting, which was designed in part to provide more opportunities for council members to serve as Vice Mayor. Before Measure PB, most Vice Mayors served 2-year terms. The Vice Mayor position is ceremonial, and they attend events and preside over City Council meetings when the Mayor cannot be present, and the Vice Mayor also introduces the Mayor at the annual State of the City speech. 5. The Pasadena Unified School District Board of Education voted to approve its first interim financial report, declared that the district will meet all financial obligations, and certified district finances as positive. The board also began a long-term study process regarding school consolidation and potential closures. The LA County Office of Education will now review the report and decide by late December whether to accept PUSD's financial recovery plans or intervene directly in the management of the district. Also, Tina Fredericks was elected president of the school board, the first Asian American woman to hold the post. 6. Pasadena completed its fiscal year 2025 annual citywide street resurfacing and ADA improvements program, an $8.8 million effort to keep streets safe, accessible, and reliable for residents, businesses, and visitors. The program is designed to repair pavement, improve accessibility, and extend the useful life of the city's roadway network across neighborhoods. The project included resurfacing approximately 11.5 miles of asphalt pavement across the city. Crews removed and replaced damaged concrete curbs, gutters, and sidewalks, installed 35 ADA-compliant curb ramps, adjusted existing utility manholes, replaced traffic signal loop detectors, and installed new striping and raised pavement markers. Public Works is now planning the fiscal year 2026 annual street resurfacing program. 7. The city commemorated an important step in the Central Library's seismic retrofit and renovation project with the groundbreaking ceremony for the pre-construction phase. More than 150 people gathered in the parking lot to kick off the 3-year-long, $195 million project. Attendees left with a keepsake memento, a brick taken out of Central Library during selective demolition, stamped with the groundbreaking date and the library's motto, "Be made whole by books as by great spaces and the stars." The plan is that the library will reopen in summer 2028. 8. Pasadena's independent police auditor, Teresa Magula of the OIR Group, delivered her first annual report to the City Council. She outlined reviews of police use of force incidents, bias-related complaints, and internal investigations, and identified policy and training areas that could be strengthened in the coming year. Magula and OIR have been reviewing categorical uses of force by Pasadena Police Department officers, assessing whether investigations were thorough, timely, and consistent with department policy and constitutional standards. 9. The Pasadena Rent Stabilization Department's rental registration program has achieved an 87% compliance rate so far in its second year, which is higher than many other cities' programs, some of which have been around a long time. That said, Department Director Helen Morales recently said that the one-year grace period is over and they are now preparing to send cases of non-compliant landlords to the city prosecutor. Also, the appellate court's decision on the appeal challenging Pasadena's rent control law is expected any day now, and may even have been released between the time we filmed this episode and the time that it aired. And 10. Council approved Pasadena Water and Power's Optimized Strategic Plan, a policy framework that will guide the utilities' decisions and investments as the city works toward its goal of providing 100% carbon-free electricity on an hourly basis by 2030. Because PWP is facing a potential revenue shortfall in the coming years, a public hearing will be held on February 9th regarding an electric rate adjustment. PWP is recommending phased increases of 9.5% annually for fiscal years 2026 and 2027. Let's welcome our guest, Pasadena City Manager Miguel Márquez. Thank you so much for coming on the show once again.
Pleasure.
Before coming to Pasadena, Miguel served as the Chief Operating Officer and County Counsel of Santa Clara County and as a Justice on California's 6th District Court of Appeals. He was also the General Counsel of the San Francisco Unified School District and a Deputy City Attorney in the San Francisco City Attorney's Office. Miguel, we had you on, of course, on the show right after you were first hired more than 3 years ago now as a sort of entrance interview. And now that you've announced your retirement, this is like an exit interview, so to speak. So why don't you tell us about what you can about why you've decided to retire at this time?
Sure. Maybe I can start by saying it was never my intention to retire this early. I had hoped to stay, probably to my mid 60s, which is, another 6 years away.
Mm-hmm.
But life happens, and part of life is passing away. And unfortunately, earlier this year in the August timeframe, my father unexpectedly passed away. And he had been the primary caregiver for my mother. And she needs a lot of support given some complicated medical issues she has. And so seeing that life event in front of me, I had to make the hard choice. And in the end, it wasn't that hard when you think about it. Take care of your mother, who really did everything for you coming up, and retire early. And it's something I could do. Again, never had been in the plans, but that's what's driving my early retirement, is so I can be the caregiver that my mother so richly deserves in this final chapter in her life.
Yeah, and I was so sorry to hear about that. It's been such a rough year all around for so many people. And are you going to miss it?
Absolutely. I've been down here in Santa Ana where I am today to care for my mother, but have been up there as much as I can be. And every time I go back up there, it's just so special. And I, just have a feeling inside of me of how difficult it is. And it's the easy choice to make because I want to provide the care my mother needs. But it's so hard because Pasadena truly is special. And as I drive around and I'm back, I just have that energy and feeling of what a great place it is. So I will miss it tremendously.
Yeah, and you'll certainly be missed as well. Tell us, what in your view, what were some of the major accomplishments during your tenure?
Major accomplishments were, those accomplishments that were done by not just, of course, myself, but my team, the city staff, the community, our partners, so many different partners in so many different ways. There's so many different ways to think about that question. And I think, some of the easy ones to look at is the community support for the rebuilding and upgrading and retrofit of the central library. Such a beautiful, beautiful facility. And I'm so happy that we got that through, and it's well on its way to reopening. And that'll reopen, I think, in 2028. Another one's a little more boring, but I think it's a big accomplishment, was shifting and getting additional resources for better streets. Our Pasadena has so much going for it, but our streets are not up to par. And we've made millions of dollars while I've been city manager of additional investment with the support of the city council. And folks should be noticing that their streets are getting better. And we've also been able to do some big financial things. Coming out of COVID, we had a lot of financial strain. But since then, in the last 3 years, we've been able to get ourselves fully reserved, with all our reserves fully funded, and to make adjustments in fees to where we now have our infrastructure better taken care of, our sewer infrastructure and other infrastructure that we have. So I'd say those are some of the accomplishments, but I'd say the biggest accomplishment is, even just as of December 1st, I think it was, I finally appointed my final executive team member, Karen Snyder, Director of Finance, and now we have a complete executive team, and it's a terrific executive team. No one is in an acting position. That hasn't been true in the whole 3 years I've been here until December 1st. And that team works collaboratively. They're all superstars, and I'll be leaving, but they'll carry on the work and do a tremendous job. So I'd say between the executive team and then the staff itself, we have a lot of stability in our staffing. We just did a Gallup survey where we got 80% participation rate, which is really high, and we broke our own goal for employee engagement. So very proud of those, leaving the people behind that will continue the good work.
Great. And was there anything that you wanted to get done during your time but didn't?
I'd say yes. Let me start by highlighting what I think the biggest strength Pasadena has. I look at it and has so many amazing institutions. It has such a rich history and so many incredible events. But after the 3 years I was there, what I really decided the secret sauce is, if you will, is civic engagement. And people throughout Pasadena contribute in so many incredible ways that make the community what it is. I think the one thing I was hoping to get done that I didn't get done was bring in to our public discussions, into our public hearings, a true sense of a hearing to hear each other out and try to solve problems. We are still, unfortunately, at a place, and I think this is reflected in broader society, where people organize and come in and they just fight for what they want. Instead of, I think one of the council members made the good point, a public hearing involves a lot of hearing. We should be hearing each other and trying to solve problems. And I don't think I was able to get us to that place. I do think we still have too much sort of people coming in and trying to say whatever is going to get their thing approved as they want it, as opposed to really listening to one another, really trying to solve problems together. We do it on so many other levels, but I do think on some of our trickiest issues, that's what holds us back. And I wish I could have found a better way to get that to be a more problem-solving type of way to go about business.
Yeah, that's a tough one, and of course, that's not just Pasadena, but nationwide, really. What kind of a city manager does Pasadena need next? What skills will they need to lead the city going forward?
Well, I think that falls into two buckets. One, of course, all the technical skills, someone who's strong on finance, someone who understands land use very well, all of the city functions and can provide leadership in that way. I think, though, what I just said, I'm going to leverage off of what I just said, in that the secret sauce to Pasadena is civic engagement. And I think the world is changing, right? Our federal government is changing in its support for the city, or for cities generally, and just the role that federal government will play. Our state is caught in the middle. And, at the end of the day, cities are frontline service providers. And we are going to have cities are going to have quite a big challenge on their hands. The city it cannot solve its problems on its own, or the problems, the city government can't solve the city writ large's problem on its own. It's going to require an even greater dose of civic engagement, a greater dose of our nonprofit partners, of our, partners throughout, our business partners, everybody working together. So civic engagement is a broad term, but I think the next city manager will really have to find productive ways to enhance civic engagement so we can solve our collective problems going forward.
Mhm. I imagine it's an extremely demanding job as well, right, for the individual.
Yeah, I don't ever think of it as a job. I call it a lifestyle, right? And to go back to your first question, it's a lifestyle that's incompatible with providing care to an elder. But yeah, it's someone who has to be ready to live that city manager lifestyle and be present at events and really engage wholeheartedly in making the city a better place for all.
And what challenges will the next city manager face? What are the major projects coming up that the next city manager will be working on?
Well, one that's been teed up over the last couple of years, going on 3 years now, is the 710 stub. Very fortunate to have a variety of things happen starting in the 50s, people resisting the 710 coming up and connecting to the 210. But the long and short of it is on August 15th of 2022, Caltrans relinquished about 50 acres to the city. And we have since engaged consultants and community members and an advisory group and all, tons of people working on getting ready to envision a master plan. And that's going to come to fruition by the March, April timeframe of this year. And then we got to take the next steps and really start, making progress that's more tangible on the 710 stub. And that's going to be a big, big task on the next city manager's plate, along with dealing with all of the financial challenges that we're going to see. They're twofold. One is, we all, I think, are experiencing it: healthcare costs, inflation, just everything is going up. And our expenses are basically rising a lot faster than our revenues. And so there's sort of a structural issue there that the next city managers, that we've already started working on it with the council, but we're going to have to tackle. I think that's part of it. And the other part is more just the politics of the day and the current federal administration having different ideas about what role it thinks the federal government needs to play, what kind of programs it should fund, and how it should do it. Good example would be we received millions of dollars to help with the housing first model of solving homelessness. And this administration has tried to change and move away from housing first and instead just give a block grant. That would be millions of dollars that are lost to the city to solve homelessness. And I think we need to start having good, honest problem solving discussions about how we continue to tackle the homelessness problems that the region faces.
And speaking of financial challenges, I know there's probably not much you're allowed to say about the UCLA and Rose Bowl issue, but should we be worried here? If UCLA successfully leaves, what financial impact will that have on the stadium and on the city?
Well, I would start to answer that question by noting that, again, thankfully, we have our reserves fully funded, and the city council and the city staff, the finance staff, has been so good about keeping us in a solid place, in a stable place financially. So we will weather that storm. On the finance side, if you really think about it, our general fund is about more than $350 million, and the UCLA games as a revenue brings us about $3.5 million. But the real issue there is less about those revenues. We'll find a way to weather that storm. The real issue is that, Pasadena is special in so many ways, but among the ways, the heart and soul is the Rose Bowl. And the heart and soul of the Rose Bowl since 1982 has been college football. And UCLA made its commitment in 2014 to play its home games at the Rose Bowl through 2044. The agreement they signed is as clear as day. And so I believe the court will say you have to play your games there. And I think we have an obligation to continue to be as good partners as we can be to UCLA as they continue to play their games at the Rose Bowl through at least 2044.
And then finally, tell us about your experience leading the city through the Eaton fire earlier this year and the aftermath that continues to reverberate through to today and beyond. It must have been one of the biggest challenges to face at the helm of a city like Pasadena.
Yeah, it sure was. I was also one of the leaders up in Santa Clara County when there was COVID, and I said, guys, this is going to be the biggest challenge of your professional careers. Let's step up and deal with COVID. And in many respects that was, but I would say the Eaton fire for that shortened period of time truly was the most difficult challenge I had faced in my professional career. That sense of powerlessness, I guess, and when the winds were blowing at us at 100 degrees and the ember cast was going 2 to 3 miles and there was fires all over the place. So, on a personal perspective, it was very, very, very challenging. At the same time, it was incredibly rewarding because the city's executive staff, our police department, our fire department, our first responders, are what are normally called second responders, but our Pasadena transit drivers, everybody. Our parks staff went over to the convention center and provided aid to those who needed shelter. Everybody stepped up. It was beautiful to see and rewarding that we were able to provide the kind of service that our community needed in its time of greatest need. So that was amazing. And we learned a lot of lessons from it. We had been prepared. We had asked for the state to provide resources to us in advance, just in case something would happen. So we were as prepared as we could be. We executed as best we could. It was still such a tragic event, but thankfully the city, everything we had prepared for had come together. So it was our biggest challenge, but it was also one of our biggest successes. And I know that's hard to hear for people who may have lost their homes. It was really, I've written about it and talked about how it was about Earth, Wind, and Fire. It's one of my favorite groups from the 70s and 80s, but really that's what got us. And we need to be prepared going forward. So I'm really, happy to see that the city is working on a measure to see if we can better support our fire department for what's to come in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Miguel, thank you so much for coming on the show again. I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us about your work in Pasadena. And on a personal level, it's been a pleasure to work with you these years. And thank you for everything that you've done. In my opinion, you were the best city manager that Pasadena has had in a long time. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Justin. Greatly appreciate it. And keep on doing the great work you're doing.
Thank you so much. And best of luck with your family.
Thank you so much.
All right. Take care. Before we go, here is this month in Pasadena history. It was this month in 1975 when the first Frisbee golf course in the country opened at Oak Grove in Hahumungna near the Pasadena-La Cañada border. And the first Frisbee golf tournament was held at Brookside Park in 1969. Today, more than 16,000 disc golf courses operate worldwide, with 3 new courses installed daily, 89% of which are free to play. Thank you so much for watching another year of Pasadena Monthly with me. It's an honor to bring you the latest news about our community, and I hope you found value in tuning in. This has been a particularly rough year for so many people, so I for one, am looking forward to 2026 and hoping for better days. So happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you and yours, and I'll see you next year. Tune in every 4th Friday of the month at 5 p.m. and learn more at pasadenamedia.org and justindouglaschapman.com. See you next time.